Right, all you music makers, video game players, and entertainers from all around the world. Welcome to the 557th edition of Music Village. I am your host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey, bringing you the best for the North, South, East, and West that the world of music and games has to offer, and seeing the fact that not only this is the final show prior to a daylight savings time like no other, and the first show of the weekend for the month of madness, we might as well waste no time and explain to you guys what's gonna happen in this very special time warp and madness edition of Music Village. And speaking of madness that we said more times than most for the intro, we explain to you guys and gals at home what we've got prepared for this year's month of madness for another edition of the Music Village update. And according to Carl and the Maestro, there's some big things coming. And he's right, he really is. Also, besides that, we go and check out some video games from a planet far away from here and from the Steam machine alike for another edition of the Friday night Greenlight. Then we go from green to more or less a brown of a dirt road variety for a very special GTA Madness edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And according to Carl and the Maestro, this happened in less than 48 hours. Yikes. Then we find out what you independent artists got planned for this weekend for another edition of the Indy for the weekend, which is me giving you guys local content information from local artists from a local area live near you. Then finally, last but not least, and hopefully before we have to reset the clocks, we wrap up this show yet another edition of the Up to Speed News, which is me giving you guys news stories from this week from, you guessed it, all around the world. I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and the Maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and most importantly, make sure you got all those clocks resetted ahead of time so we don't have to do it at 2 a.m. tomorrow, because it's time for us to bring some fun and delight on your Friday afternoon/night, only here, right here on Music Village. So let's get this show started, folks. Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And if you're wondering at home, yes, we had to do a little bit of rearranging here for a pre-spring cleaning that we had to do for Music Village headquarters. And that also meant that we had to get rid of the giant oversized wind foam thing we had for the microphone because, well, with the spring cleaning, we managed to get rid of the echo in the room. Well, to the best of our abilities, before anybody says anything at home. And alongside with that, yeah, we really had to spruce up the place to get ready for what's coming next. And speaking of things that are coming next, folks, I think it's time for us to go into yet another edition of the Music Village Update. But before then, remember to set your clocks forward by an hour this week because by Saturday at 2, the time goes up. So we're going to lose Nightlight if I didn't already lose enough of that already as is. Yeah, no rest for the wicked, folks. No rest for the wicked. But to get serious here, folks, we're 3 months into the year. Wow, already within the month of March. which around here we know the month of March as one thing and one thing only: the month of madness. And what does that mean for this month for the video game stories? Well, video game stories that'll feature things that are absolutely insane and crazier than all hell that you wouldn't believe in 1,000 years could possibly happen in a video game story. And Carla the Maestro chiming in saying, so just about all of the video game stories you tell? You got a point, but this one goes a little bit off the spectrum more than most. Alongside with that, folks, for the Tuesday night special, we give a special salute to a whole bunch of Nickelodeon classic shows with craziness a part of it, and something we like to call Nick Madness. We'll feature shows that are just about everywhere in the Nickelodeon spectrum that we haven't dipped into just yet. And Carla the Maestro said, will Hey Dude be one of the shows? Maybe, I don't know. Good show recommendation. Write that one down. We might try to fit it in for this month. Alongside with that, we will also feature more cool things, a part of the show of madness of Under the Radar. And even as of next week, for the Music Village, and I don't know why I put a V in front of it, we will be answering your questions at home and taking yet another trip to Music O'Finnigan's Village for next week. Which means we'll be answering your questions before we go into a very special milestone show to wrap up the month. Yes, that's right, folks. Our 56th milestone for Music Village will be by the end of this very month of madness. But a milestone that's a wee bit sooner than that. As of next week, we'll be celebrating 530 episodes of the Tuesday night special. Yeah, after going to New Orleans one week, we celebrate 530 episodes the week following. Not bad at all. And according to Carl and the Maestro, with WrestleMania a little bit off than our usual schedules, and with us not mentioning any form of pay-per-views for this month, we will try to have some form of DPW mixtape to get you guys hyped up for what's coming as of next month, which is the Showcase of the Immortals and an anniversary for another show that'll wrap up the anniversary of shows we have until December. Yeah, just to get it all out of the way now. And with everybody in the nim of all the craziness we got planned for this month of madness, all we have to say to you fans at home is 3 things. Strap yourselves in. Grab your Mad Hatter hat and put on your best sharp suit or outfit that you can find from in your closet to get prepared to sip the tea of madness during a month that'll drive you absolutely insane. And not because of the parlays and other things from the basketball games you're most likely betting on as we speak. Yeah, just to cover that base. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with more Music Village that you can shake a stick at right after this. So don't go anywhere just yet or wear your horns out in open traffic just yet, folks. And stay tuned. Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And Carl and the Maestro wondered during the break, are we ever gonna bring back Flash Madness? Oh, you mean Flash Mania? I don't know. Good question, but I would save the questions for next week because I know there's gonna be plenty of them. But besides us getting that giant oversized green bag filled with your questions for next week, I think it's time for us to get your afternoon or evening filled with a couple of games from a planet far away from here and from the Steam Machine alike for another edition, free Time Warp edition of the Friday Night Greenlight. And the first game that we have up comes from the itch.io page of Mayor Eclair, or May Eclair? Apparently, according to Colin Maestro, we were right with the second one, with their set game of Museum of All Things. And this game automatically reminds me of, I would have to say a movie museum, or just the museum movie of Night at the Museum. Because I got a strange feeling that a couple of these paintings and statues may come to life, including the one of the alien from 1975? Wait, that's 1979. That's off. But either way you look at it, folks, here's hoping in the near future for this said game that not only you get a chance to interact with the said pictures, but a chance to add your own to the collection. And I got an idea for one of them. And yes, call it a Maestro, it will feature the bus from Speed jumping over that giant bridge that was 50 feet out in the movie Speed. And most likely with Keanu Reeves looking onward as the bus flies over. Yeah, I'm gonna get that added if I can. But besides getting cinema classic film jumps from bus stunts added to a museum, the next game that we have up comes from the developers No Seppo Games with their set game of You're Late. And you are late is what it said, but Carl and the Maestro said you're late. Well, I'm not late, you're late. Well, either way you look at it, folks, this game automatically reminds me of a classic O Canada cartoon. Yeah, it really does. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game that you can avoid getting your eyes pecked out by that giant oversized bird that's lurking in the bathtub. Cause I got a feeling he doesn't want to be bothered, especially at this time in the morning. And according to Carl and the Maestro, you talk to him about something and you go away. He doesn't really bother you throughout the story. All right, that's good. As long as I'm not being bothered by a giant oversized crow in a bathtub, I'm fine. Now, that's a good afternoon for me. And the next game that we have up, besides messing around with giant crows in a bathroom, comes from the developers AC Moore Games with their set game of Cheetah's Cheetah. Cheaters Cheetah? Is it? Yeah, apparently Carl and the Maestro said we were right with that one. And this game automatically reminds me of a combination of Perfect Dark with a little hint of, I guess, what if scenario if the said animals from Animal Crossing were involved in a game. And according to Carl and the Maestro, it just reminds them of Chitara from the said DC comic books. Okay, we'll go with that. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this said game that you get a chance to use or upgrade your said weapons to take out these said cheetahs. Cause they're gonna be using anything they possibly can to take you out, so you should try to even the playing field. But apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, you get a ban hammer to prevent them from doing any other suspicious things, including wall hacks. If only that was as simple as it was in real life. But besides all that, folks, and trying to catch cheetahs that are cheetahs, the next game we have up comes from Okami Studios with their set game of Outlawed. And this game automatically reminds me of, I would have to say Battle Royale if it took place in the city. Yeah, it really does remind me of that. And with a little hint of APB in there as well too. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to modify your weapons, and according to Carl and the Maestro, yes you can, and maybe, just maybe, also get a chance to play alongside with your friends. And according to Carl and the Maestro, you can play with them or against them and in vehicles before you even ask. Alright, I'll take it. But besides teaming up with friends to try to take somebody out in a giant metropolis of a city, the next game that we have up comes from the developers Fog Angler with their set game of Travel on Pigeon. And this game automatically reminds me, for some strange reason, of Qbert, with a little hint of Nick Arcade in there as well too, because I'm pretty sure it was a game where you had to prevent them from landing on certain squares. And Carl and the Maestro said that's the main game of the Nick Arcade for you to go inside of the arcade itself. Well, I knew that. But here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you can come up with your own cool puzzles, but a chance for you to actually come up with a cool outfit for the pigeon. And Carl and the Maestro's asking me, why aren't you asking for anything else? Because that's all I think they'll have, outside of a chance of you playing against your friends in one of these giant oversized puzzles. And Carl and the Maestro just gave me the thumbs up and showed me the picture number 3, where there is a pigeon wearing a cool baseball cap. All right? But besides a pigeon wearing a baseball cap trying to make its way across a light-up floor and avoiding getting electrocuted at all costs, the next game we have up comes from the developers Lente, or Lente? We'll go with the second one just in case, with their set game of Spill. And this game automatically reminds me of, I guess one of those Discovery Channel documentaries where they try to clean up the lake with a little hint of Captain Planet in there as well too. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to upgrade your boat by helping others recycle, but maybe, just maybe, a chance for you to get a crew to help out with this as well too. Because especially with that giant oversized oil splotch over there in the corner next to that brown lake, which apparently Carl and the Maestro said is dirty lake water, you might need extra hands on deck to help you out with that. And according to Carl and the Maestro, yeah, you might be able to get that, but a better idea is just to build a wider funnel for the boat. Yeah, you could do that too. So here's hoping you can. But besides using a tugboat to try to clean up one ocean problem at a time, and speaking of cleaning things up, the last but not least game we have up for this week comes from the developers Goat Games with their set game of Sports Reinventions. Or Renovations. And this game automatically reminds me of a what-if scenario in Tony Hawk Underground, if you were actually able to clean up the park yourself without using skate moves and other cool things. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game that after you're done renovating the place, you can also get a chance to test it out. And according to Carl and the Maestro, maybe, just maybe you can. Well, what do you mean by maybe? According to Carl and the Maestro, they said because it depends on who owns it after you're done cleaning it. Well, you're right, but you should be able to test it out. Here's hoping. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still making their way from a planet far away from here, yet close enough to be beamed into your homes in less than 24 hours, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Free Game Planet page of one man only known as freegameplanet.com to check out a whole bunch of cool, weird, awesome, and frightening games that are just out of this world. You also want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still trying to make their way through the steam machine, be it a cargo ship, cargo plane, or even subterranean train that is currently rumbling underneath your toes, then you can go ahead and head on over to the store.steampower page of one man only known as store.steampower.com and click ever so lightly on that upcoming button while trying to dodge a pot of tea coming at you from that Indy button to check out a whole bunch of cool games that might drive you insane. And according to Carl and the Maestro, I think that ship sailed for you. What do you mean? Oh, because we were talking to that owl over there in the corner that doesn't exist? That's fine. He's fine over there in the corner. But besides worrying about that owl that's been asking me for $15 since the start of this part of the show, I think it's time for us to head back into the music once again, and when we return, we'll be back with yet another new DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories right after this. So don't get lost in that traffic just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Alright, all you video gamers, welcome to yet another Aviation Chaos Startup Edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And with a title like that, we decided to go with the game, or DLC, from none other than Grand Theft Auto Online of Guzman Flies Again. And we might as well just call this Aviation Chaos, and you're about to find out within the next 30 seconds. Because I think it's time for us to fuel up those planes and get ready to fly like AJ Styles as we get ready to paint the picture. Alright, this video game story began approximately 48 hours ago when this said DLC would first come out. And I would decide to help out Alex to try to get his airfield off the ground before mine's, and said, oh, it should be easy since it's Alex, since, you know, most of the times for his missions, nothing can ever go wrong. Well, I should have thought about what I said, because usually when things go wrong, it never happens really to him. It more or less happens to me. And the reason why in the world we had to say that, folks, is because from the first mission all the way down to the final job itself, there was problem after problem after problem after problem after problem. Starting with the up and running mission that we started off with. Because after we were able to take the weapons and go on over toward the base, and everything that happened afterwards would happen, we would get this car and try to make our way up the road, and for whatever reason, and I don't know why, some random farm truck decided to drive directly into us, into a ditch. Why? And I was sitting there looking at Alex saying the same thing, and said, what is going on? Why? What is going on here? And Alex would sit there and laugh, and at the same time prior to that, while making our way up to the top of Mount Chiliad, had the best idea of trying to pull off a moonsault, and would realize that the Manchez he was riding on was not good enough for a moonsault, especially at that altitude, and would crunch his head like an accordion, yet somehow survive. I probably should have led with that, but either way you look at it, folks, that's just the tip of the iceberg of what really ticked me off about things that was happening around me. Because next up, after we would end up doing the up and running mission, we would then have to steal the Moogles from this said airfield that magically popped up over in the corner for me to say, how long has an airfield been over here? For Alex to say, well, I never saw such a thing, you know, it might have just came here. And for us, the second after we were done taking out all the people, I would take a Moogle, he would take a Moogle. Alex would go first, and then I would go afterwards. And the first time when we did this, and I decided to land the plane first, or actually fly with Alex inside of the plane for the first part of this, once we landed and it said the plane was retrieved, Guzman was sitting there shooting the planes that was following us down, because once you steal them, then you have to deal with the pyros that are coming after you. And that plane's really gonna earn its name, because after the said rocket would shoot at the first one and take it out, the second one that would come in and a little bit low to the ground would get blown up, do a cartwheel on the airfield, and while I was in the back of the plane watching as the thing comes down, it would blow me up for me to say, really? 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 Are you serious? And meanwhile, Alex laughing his head off, so was Juju, and as well as King, all just laughing at the fact that I got blown up thanks to that. And anytime I would see Hector after that, we would have a problem. And I got a feeling he would realize that too, because on the next mission, where we had to get the ammunition, a part of Operation Iron Mule, he would leave me behind off the plane. That's, are you kidding me? I'm right here. Come back, come back, come back. And then would just fly off for me to take a rocket launcher to the plane and shoot it down. Not once, but on 3 separate occasions, just to get all the anger out of my system. So once that happened, and once we got all the ammunition and everything we needed for that, and I got my anger out of control, or in control according to Carl and the Maestro, we would immediately go to the Titan job itself. Now you think after leaving me behind and the consequences that would happen thereafter, you think Guzman would learn? No, he wouldn't. He would leave me behind again for me to take some form of vehicle of the insurgent variety, fly my way all the way over there to make my way to where the said plane was, where I would have to fix the engine, load up the ammunition, and fly the big giant oversized plane of that giant Titan 250D through the skies as Alex would take out the entire shipment that they would have that was featured for this, for me to land it and for Alex to get all the discounts for all the planes, including the one I wanted of the Titan 250D, for me to try to do it myself. And yeah, if you're wondering if the chaos was over there, well, once we got up to the setup Moogle on my end, every single time we tried to save both planes, a new load of nonsense would happen, all in the fault of Hector Guzman, like not even shooting the giant oversized planes flying overhead, one of the planes actually blowing up because they targeted me more than they did Alex, and even the occasion of when I tried to land it, slapping right into a telephone pole, failing instantly and losing said plane. So yeah, one could say it was a plain mistake, working with Hector Guzman. And I would have to agree. And I guess with that said, folks, wraps it up for a very special Aviation Startup Chaos Edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And with that, we'll be back with more right after this. So stay tuned. Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And yeah, about that video game story, there is a happy ending to that madness. I did end up getting the Titan 220D or 250D according to Carl and the Maestro, but unfortunately I could not upgrade the thing because I went broke by getting it in the first place. I think I'm only down to 14 grand after buying that thing. Might have to do a job on the side to try to get more money to fix it up. But I will, and keep you posted about it too. But besides keeping you posted about a cool plane in the near future, I think it's time for us to go into one of my favorite parts of the show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, none other than the Indy for the weekend, which is me giving you guys local concert information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. And we kick things off with Friday, March 7th, and the first band that we have up is none other than Stu Hooten, who's going to be performing at the Simply Greek Restaurant and Bar in Long Branch, New Jersey at 6 p.m. Nikki Breyer is going to be performing at the Long Eagle Brewing in Flemington, New Jersey at 6:30 p.m. Lelicia with BD Lens is both going to be performing at the Public House Tavern and Inn in Chester, New Jersey at 6:30 p.m. Pam McCoy is going to be performing at the Val's Tavern in Rumson, New Jersey at 7 p.m. Mike Grunge with the Coots is going to be performing at the Irish Cottage Inn in Franklin, New Jersey at 7 p.m. TK and the Howlers is going to be performing at the Valerie's Lakeside Restaurant and Bar in Gloucester Township, New Jersey at 7 p.m. You can also see Gerald Esposito, who's going to be performing at the Villa Vittoria Ristorante in Brick, New Jersey at 7 p.m. Joe Pinto with the Burnt Leftovers. Nice band name. It's going to be performing at the Mr. Riley's Public House in Highbridge, New Jersey at 8 p.m. Jive Stock. Nice band name. Is going to be performing at the Haley's Harp and Pub in Metuchen, New Jersey at 8 p.m. The Mike Montre Band is going to be performing at the MMB Duo at Old Town Pub in Bordentown, New Jersey at 9 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Friday night and completely out of order according to Carla the Maestro, you can see Kevin McGowan, who's going to be performing at the Cranberry Inn in Cranberry, New Jersey at 7:30 p.m. And on Saturday, March 8th, you can see these following bands performing in a local area near you live. Carlotta Schmidt with Strumberry Pie, Lindley and Brian, Gaia Raya, and 4 other bands yet to be announced is all going to be performing at the House of Independence in Asbury Park, New Jersey at 12:30 p.m. Phil Wininski is going to be performing at the Middleton Township Public Library in Middletown, New Jersey at 2 p.m. Mike Garanja with the Coots is going to be performing at the Hasbrook Heights Free Public Library in Hasbrook Park Heights, New Jersey at 2 p.m. Galleon is going to be performing at the Bum Rogers and Sea Park. And apparently Carla Michael said Seaside Park, New Jersey. All right. At Seaside Park, New Jersey at 4 p.m. You can also see I Kill Ya with Paralysis, Extinction AD, Non-Residents, and one other band yet to be announced, who's all going to be performing at the Metal Cave Show presents An Evening of Thrash in Clifton, New Jersey at 6:30 p.m. The Mike Montre Band is going to be performing at the Audio Act Brewing in Mars Plains, New Jersey at 7:30 p.m. Stu Hooten is going to be performing at the MJ's in Middletown, New Jersey at 8 p.m. Astrologer Sangoma Psychic is going to be performing at the Maxfield on Main in Booton Township, New Jersey at 8 p.m. And yeah, Carla the Maestro, I might go to get my fortune read. Might be looking good. But besides my good-looking future, folks, the next bands we have up is Mike Granja with Sharp Edge. They're busy this weekend. Who's going to be performing at the Chrome's Tavern in Mountainside, New Jersey at 8:30 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Saturday night, you can see the Random Test Reggae Band, who's going to be performing at the Jamin's Food and Drink in Red Bank, New Jersey at 9 p.m. And on Sunday, March 9th, you can see these following bands performing in a local area near you live. And as a heads up, make sure you set your times for it an hour so you don't miss the performance. And the first band we have up is the Langers Ball, who's going to be performing at the Arizona Renaissance Festival in Apache Junction, Arizona at 10 a.m. And I was confused for a second because Carla the Maestro said it's actually 11 a.m. instead of 10. You sure? Oh, they said, my bad, we read the note wrong. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Anyway, folks, next band we have up is Jim Sloan and Friends, who's going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 11:30 a.m. The JT Wise Band is going to be performing at the Laurel Thirst Public House in Portland, New Jersey at 1 p.m. And another typo on their part is Portland, Oregon. I just need to get that fixed. Anyway, next up we have none other than Merle Anderson, who's going to be performing at the Old Firehouse in Edmond, Texas at 1:30 p.m. Vibery is going to be performing at the Seville Quarter in Pensacola, Florida at 4 p.m. Sophie and the New Relics with Cliff and Susan, nice band names, is going to be performing at the Rev Room in Little Rock, Arkansas at 5 p.m. You can also see none other than Mike McDevitt, who's going to be performing at the Flash in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania at 5 p.m. Andre Howard is going to be performing at Emmett's Place in Houston, Texas at 6 p.m. Todd Allen Henry is going to be performing at the Todd Henry Theater in Panama City Beach, Florida at 6 p.m. Dawn of the Ouroboros with Wolf King, Mithurum, and Woods Witch is all going to be performing at the Brick by Brick in San Diego, California at 7 p.m. And I got a feeling there's going to be some interesting costumes for that performance, and I can't wait to see it. But besides seeing a mythical beast trying to perform on stage, next band we have up is the Sunday Night Jazz Jam, who's going to be performing at the Mr. Peabody's in Encinitas, California at 6 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Sunday night, you could see Solid Riff, who's going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South La Pilot. Carl and the Maestro knock it off over in the corner, sitting over there laughing. Anyway, Solid Rift is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 9 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Sunday night, since Carl and the Maestro screwed that one up, you can see none other than Milo Z, who's going to be performing at the Red Lion in New York at 10 p.m. And on Monday, March 10th, you can see these following bands performing in the local area live near you. Monday Gaming Night is going to be performing at the NCOM Cyber Hall in Norman, Oklahoma at 4 p.m. The Do-Over is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 6 p.m. For some strange reason, we cannot say South Padre Island, Texas this week. It's weird. Anyway, next band we have up is Sky Covington Live, who's going to be performing at the Aretha's Jazz Cafe in Detroit, Michigan at 6 p.m. Jess Richmond is going to be performing at the Little Bar Restaurant in Goodland, Florida at 7 p.m. Zach Johnson is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 7 p.m. Monday Open Mic Night with Jay Kane is going to be performing at the Mr. Peabody's in Encinitas, California at 8 p.m. John Diddy is going to be performing at the Caledonia Brewing in Dunnan, Florida at 8 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Monday night and for all the bands we're going to mention for this week, you could see the Rob Garcia Band, who's going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 9 p.m. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast, and trust me folks, there were a lot of them, you can head on over to ReverbNation.com to check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast. And while you're over there folks, check out a couple of their cool tunes. Trust me, worth the listen. Like we say at the end of all of these skits, go out there, support your local artists, and see these guys perform live. And trust me, they'll love you for it. And I guess with that said, we might as well head back to that music and continue to listen to these diamonds in the rough. Only here, right here, on Music Village. So don't get lost in evening or afternoon traffic just yet, folks. And stay tuned. And we're back with the afternoon/evening show, giving pre-daylight savings time one final send-off, only known as Music Village. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, it's just known as Standard Time Zone Standard. Are you sure? I thought it was also known as just regular time, which I wish they kept all year round, but apparently we have to go up by an hour thanks to the farmers that I think doesn't use it anymore. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. But besides, daylight's farm saving time is what we're going to probably call it in the near future. And speaking of time, I'm looking at my watch right now. Oh, it's just about that time. It's the witching hour, which means it's time for us to be brought up to speed with news stories from this week from, you guessed it, all around the world. And in our first news story, and an exciting news for you postmodern jukebox fans as well as fans of Van Halen. Because this week they would decide to do a musical cover of the classic Van Halen song of Ain't Talking About Love in a 1960s doo-wop cover. Nice! And here's hoping in the near future we can hear them do Van Halen Jump in, I guess, a smooth jazz version of it? I can only imagine how in the world that would sound. And for some strange reason, I can imagine a lot of piano work and maybe a couple of doo-wop dancers in the front. And according to Carl and Maestro, maybe. And it might jump too. Who knows? But if you guys want to go ahead and check out this week's musical cover of classic variety from a classic Van Halen song turned even more classic, then you can go ahead and check it out on the YouTube page of one man only known as Postmodern Jukebox to check it out for yourselves. And in other news, and more or less news from the WWE Hall of Fame, because prior to the double cross at the Elimination Chamber, we would see the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes surprising none other than Lex Luger with a Hall of Fame induction to the class of 2025. And the funny thing is, he was on the Chris Van Vliet show talking about the fact that he should be in the Hall of Fame. Well, buddy, wish granted. And one thing I remembered from Lex Luger outside of the shenanigans with Ric Flair and Team Package, which, yes, that was an actual team that Lex Luger was a part of with Ric Flair back in WCW, would have to be Lex Luger back in the WWF when he was on the Intrepid slamming Yokozuna on July 4th for SummerSlam, which is still the craziest thing I've seen in wrestling ever, especially seeing the fact that it took place on a cruise, not a cruise ship, one of those airliners. So, you know, one of them jet fighting airships, I forgot what they're called, but it took place on that, which was awesome to see. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the surprise from Cody Rhodes to Lex Luger for that said Hall of Fame induction, then you can go ahead and head on over to the said YouTube page of one man only known as WWE to check it out for yourselves. And congratulations to Lex Luger, and well deserved, man. Well deserved. And And in other news, and more or less foot the bill news, for you fans out there who always wondered if the movie Scream 2 could truly happen with all the expenses that they had, well, Kitten Arcader is here to audit or check the prices of all the cool things that took place during the movie of Scream 2 to see if he could foot the bill. And with him just using kitchen knives and voice modifiers, I don't think it's that expensive. And Carl and the Maestro handed me a note of how expensive it actually was. Yeah, it really was expensive. Yikes. Yikes. But if you guys and gals out there want to go ahead and find out how expensive it's truly gonna get for Ghostface in Scream 2, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Kitten Arcader to check it out for yourselves. And I guess with all those regular news stories out of the way for this week, folks, you guys at home know what time it is. No, Carl and the Maestro, it's not time just yet for us to set the clocks forward. It's time for us to go into a very special pre-daylight savings time edition of, and Month of Madness kickoff edition of. So back up for this one. We gotta get one good for this Month of Madness. Watch this. Video game news. I told you we had to represent this month properly, and that's the best way I know how. And in our first video game news story, and an exciting news for you fans out there of the video game of Def Jam and always wanted to see people from AEW play it. Because not only we would have not only the Bad Apple and of course Ricochet duking it out in Def Jam Vendetta, or according to Carl and the Maestro, Def Jam Fight for New York, which is a fun game that I never truly got my hands on. Mostly because it was always sold out. But to see these guys out there playing this game and killing it in more ways than one is absolutely awesome. And Carl and the Maestro said that'll be the first time we ever say killing it in a sentence. Well, true. This is very true. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the cool fights that would take place in the AEW locker room from a video game, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as AEW Games for the Bronami code to check it out for yourselves. Now, here's hoping in the near future they actually pull off a tournament in the world of Def Jam. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, this technically was a tournament. Well, where was Chugs? I'm pretty sure he has a championship to defend for that. Apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, he's currently doing something else. Okay, moving along. And in other video game news, and in news for you fans out there of the kill count, and wondering why in the world we're mentioning it for video game news. Well, to kick off this month of madness, we would see Zoran taking the wheel and taking things over with a killer kill count from the video game of mouthwashing. Now, at first, when I heard this game, I thought it was going to have something to do with Listerine or any of those other famous mouthwashing brands you know of out there, and just somebody being forced to brush their teeth, and I was horribly wrong. Horribly wrong. Ooh. And the fact that this game got dark in a hurry with the craziness that would be involved for it, yeah, I will never underestimate a game like this again. And the last time I did that was Dead Space, and I regretted that to this very day. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the sheer horror, terror, and madness that does take place in this game of mouthwashing, then you can go ahead and check it out on the YouTube page of one man only known as Deadbeat to check it out for yourselves. And it reminds me that one day I gotta play this game to truly see how horrifying it is. Well, from the kill count, I got a feeling it's gonna be very, very horrifying. Ugh. And in other video game news, and in news from the world of New Legacy Inc., for those out there who missed all the previews of all the cool things that took place in the world of WWE 2K25 and wanted to get a crash course of what they can expect 7 days early, well, I have some good news for you. Because New Legacy Inc., to continue their tradition of online shenanigans for releases, have decided to do a release stream for the video game of WWE 2K25. And after checking out at least 15 minutes of this stream, I can confirm to you fans at home, the boys has done it again and broken yet another 2K game. Which really doesn't surprise me. Which at this point, with them finding so many things that are just the Glitch Mode Squad version of things to happen in a game, they should be the game testers for this game every single year when it comes out. And according to Carl and Maestro, that's probably one of the reasons they get invited every year to one of the things for the 2K release streams that they would have. It makes sense, but they should invite everybody so they can truly see how breakable that game is. Which, according to Carl and Maestro, very breakable. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the midnight release stream that was well over 5 hours strong for yourselves, if you happen to miss it because you had to go to sleep at midnight, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as New Legacy Inc. to check it out for yourselves. And trust me, be prepared for a lot of game-like shenanigans with that one. And in other video game news, and more or less news from the world of Grand Theft Auto Online. For those who missed it and didn't catch it last week, well, I have some good news for you. And what do I mean by that? Well, for those who missed the event from last week that involved you getting double the amount of money for gun running missions and the other things that we listed before, well, according to Carl and the Maestro, it's back again for this week. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, not only double the amount of money for gun running, as well as the brand new vehicles that would be featured for the Guzman Flies Again mode that would be featured for this set game. And according to Carl and the Maestro wanting me to read off the new vehicles, of course, why not? Because not only you get a chance to try to fly the brand new giant oversized Titan 250D, but you also get a chance to fly the Western Duster 300H, even the Buckingham DH7 Iron Mule, which can pick up several heavy vehicles and has a bigger hook than the standard cargo bob, but will cost you about $1.7 million to fly. Just as a heads up warning. And on top of all of that, folks, you also get a chance to go home with a couple of cool different off-road vehicles, as well as, apparently according to Carl and the Maestro, the Vapid Rattel that you're able to get for the trade-in price if you're able to complete a Ratto Run arms trafficking mission. Not bad. Not bad at all. And on the lucky wheel for this week would be the same vehicle from last week, which is none other than the Cruella de Vil car of the Trafley R of the Z type, according to Carl and the Maestro, that's currently still on the lucky wheel for this week, plus all the deals that are still available from last week. So you have an extra week to grab all these cool deals, so don't burn daylight on any of them. And if you guys and gals want to go ahead and check out all of the cool deals, brand new vehicles, and other money rewarding things that are taking place in the world of Rockstar for yourselves, then you can go ahead and head on over to the socialclub.rockstargames page of one man only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com and click ever so lightly on that newswire button to check it out for yourselves. And before we forget, you will get a bonus 6 figures if you're able to complete the Hector Guzman's Flies Again mission for this week. So give it a shot. And I guess with that said for this week, folks, you've all officially been brought up. One sec, we gotta see if we can get down to the groove before the time changes. Watch this. Right, we got the rhythm, we got the rhyme, we got the groove. All right, that's enough of that because you've been brought up to speed. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Music Village for this week and before the time warp right after this. So don't wear your horns out in traffic just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Well, ladies and gentlemen, seeing the fact that the evening traffic is really starting to get hectic around here, we might as well follow the even flow of it all and bring Music Village for this week to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss any of this madness we were able to give you for this afternoon or evening, we got you covered because you can catch this show again one more time, all the time. On our SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr pages still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag MusicVillage557. And before you say anything, call the maestro over in the corner. Yes, we know we were late, but traffic was heavy where we were going, so yeah, it delayed us from getting here to Music Village headquarters on time. But don't worry, we'll make it up by next week. We hope. And if you guys want to figure out what the crazy and zany things we still got prepared for this month of madness, like traffic delays due to tree construction and high wind, then you can go ahead and check it out on our YouTube, Discord, and Twitter pages, still all named the same, only known as COO Agent 0012. Before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you the fans out there for listening into a very special month of madness pre-daylight savings time kickoff edition of Music Village. And if you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like Billy when he was a receptionist for Cthulhu during that one episode of Billy and Mandy. Yeah, you know, the PR department knows where I'm going with this one, and apparently they're trying to keep spiders from flying out of a door. Yeah, do a better job of that. I don't need to see those things. And we would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys, and here's hoping your music gets featured during a moment of madness in the near future. And, apparently, Carl and the Maestro's asking, why would you want that? Well, because we believe in those guys, that's why. And plus, I got a feeling it will help calm down the moment after a while. Maybe. And speaking of moments of madness that would involve cool music, we would like to thank our musical guests for this week, none other than Tekno AXE with their said songs of Broken Dimension that was featured during the Music Village update for this week. And of course for their song of Jamin out on the Pavement Complete Mix that was featured during this week's Aviation Chaotic Startup Edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And while we're at it, let's thank Carl and the Maestro too for the current song you're listening to right now of the Blue Collar Jam Session that's currently wrapping things up for this week's edition of Music Village. Like always, Carl and the Maestro, keep up the great work. Same thing for you, Tekno AXE. And we can't wait to hear what you guys got coming down the tubes next. And finally, last but certainly not least, we would like to thank you, the independent gamers out there, for coming out with all those sweet video game hits and clips we had a chance to mention during this week's show. Like always, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to see what you got coming down the tubes next. And you never know what show might be coming around the corner next, so keep them coming. Hint, 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 hint. And I guess with everybody thanked, you guys out there know we go out. I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro, and for this kickoff of this month of madness and a send-off to daylight savings prior to the time warp we're about to head on to, saying, embrace the madness, Mandy! But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And we'll see you guys next week for a very special Dublin trip straight to Music O'Finnigan's Village edition of Music Village. But until then, make sure you set your clocks forward. We'll see you next week, and good night, everybody.